Hey guys, I'm really excited about this video. How much money do you need to retire early? Let's say you're 30 years old and you're planning to retire by 35. The idea is, can the return from your investment pay off all of your expenses and you kick back, relax, and not work anymore? Yes. The question is, how much should you invest and how much your expenses should be to make that a reality? I've shared this spreadsheet, so feel free to open up, make a copy for yourself, and follow along as you watch this video. You may need a lot less money than you think to retire. I was very surprised when I calculated this. Let's add up all the costs that you have: rent, mortgage, food, gas, any utilities you have, and let's break it up by costs that are inflation protected, like your student loan or mortgage if it's a fixed mortgage, and any cost that is not inflation protected. In simple terms, if something is $10 today and next year is $11, then inflation was 10%, which is a lot more than what it usually is. From the 1970s all the way till the pandemic started, inflation has been almost consistently going down. I'm assuming it is going to balance out around 3% in the next few years, but right now it is 7.5%, which is very high. I've also added a field for private insurance because once you stop working, in the US, you have to buy your own insurance, which is quite costly. Now that you know how much it costs, let's see if you can afford you. Now let's add your income. Let's break it up by the income from your employment and any passive income that you have. So if you're collecting rent, that will last even after you retire. Also, let's factor in a conservative percentage for how much you may get a raise. For example, if you're just doing your job, usually you get at least 2 or 3% salary bump every year. Okay, we're almost there. Now put in the value of cash and investments that you have access to today. So the amount of current cash that you have, any stocks or crypto that you have already invested in, the amount of money that you have in your retirement accounts like 401k, IRA, and things like that. If you own a house or any asset that will appreciate in value, then put it under the assets. Something that you can't easily liquidate, but its value is going to go up usually about the same rate as inflation. So don't put something like your car or things that will depreciate in value. Now, if you go to the retirement page plan, you will see a bunch of columns are marked yellow. These are the columns that you can add more information to. For example, you may have an event like a wedding or like a trip that you wanted to make that will be a one-time cost. So let's say I'm buying a car at the age of 32 for $20,000. I will add it to this column. Let's say you invest $100 in a stock. If by next year the stock is $107, that means you got 7% back on that stock. So I'm assuming in the long run, stocks like VTI or SPY will have about 7 to 12% rate of return. Let's say you need $50,000 a year to live comfortably. If 7% of your investments equals $50,000, that means you don't have to work that year. The next column is investment cash out. So gradually, as you get older and you are not working, you want to cash out some of that investment. Ideally, you always want to cash out less than the amount that you are getting from that investment. Assuming you contribute 6% to your 401k and your employer matches half of that, then you can access that money when you are 59 and a half years old. I have no idea why 59 and a half, why not 59 or 60? Don't ask me. Finally, there are 2 columns for your assets. So maybe by the time you're 60, you decide to sell your assets and add it to the cash that you have access to. If you look at the investment return column, you will see some sales are purple. That means the amount in that sale is less than your total expenses, which means in that year, you could not pay all of your expenses by just getting the money off of the return that you got from your investment. Any negative sales are going to be shown with the red color, which means your retirement plan is still not quite ready. So you either need to invest more early on, work longer years, or lower your expenses. So when you play around with the numbers in this sheet, you can plan out your retirement in a more manageable way. You can also play around with the investment return rate and change the percentages to reflect the always changing market. So for example, put negative 30% and then positive 20. So try to see if your retirement plan can endure the volatility in the market. When you play around with these columns, you will see that it's not just how much you work or how much money you make. It's a decision of at what point, how much you're investing. So you may make the same amount of money as somebody else, but just because you invested early on more, you have access to more money because of the compounding effects. All right, that was a lot of information. Let's recap. This is the idea. If you invest in boring stocks like SPY and VTI, that's almost guaranteed to return 7 to 12% in the long run, can you quit your job and let that return on investment pay your expenses and you don't have to work anymore? The answer is yes, you can do that. But the question is, at what point can you kick back and relax? Another question is, what is the most efficient way to get to that point? I hope this video inspired you to think outside of the 9-to-5 corporation life. Most of us who are thinking about things like this are not trying to just not work and relax, but we want to do fun things, pursue our passion projects. So I hope this video gave you some ideas to do that. I'll see you around.